11. Number 11 is a systems problem. So if you go to your formula sheet where it says solving systems by equations, okay, so go to your formula sheet, look down where it says number 3, that is problem 11. Okay, so on your formula sheet right here, we are number 3, use elimination is problem number 11. Okay, which says the steps: multiply entire equation by the appropriate number to make either the x or the y term cancel out, add the equations together, find the solution, and then substitute it back in. So, if we are looking at this problem, you want to eliminate the y value because the signs are different. Okay, so you're always going to eliminate the y value, and so that means that I'm going to multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by 7. Both of those numbers will be positive that you're multiplying by. Okay? So when I multiply the top, I'm going to get 9x minus 21y equals negative 96. And on the bottom, when I multiply by 7, I'm going to get 49x plus 21y equals 154. It said to add, so we are adding those two. And when I add, I get 9x plus 49x, which gives you 58x. And when I do negative 96 plus 154, I get 58. I divide both sides by 58, and I get x equals 1. What do you have to do with the 1? Go ahead. Which one? Anyone. It doesn't matter. So if I put it back into the top equation, I'm going to have 3 times 1, which is 3. I'm going to subtract 3 to the other side. So I get negative 7y equals negative 35. Do not drop your negative with the 7. And then I'm going to divide by negative 7. Negative 35 divided by negative 7 is positive 5. So my answer is going to be A. Then you have to get your correct ordered pair, which is 1, 5. Been a long time since you've seen one of those problems. It does give you step-by-step directions on your formula sheet for question 11. Yes. What, Bailey? Did you find it? Okay. Okay, if we're looking at question number 12, how do I graph the first inequality? Somebody said it. Down 5. So I'm going to put a point down 5 on the y-axis, and then I need a slope of 4 over 1. So I'm going to go up 4, right 1. What type of line is that? It is dotted. If I forget, remember on your formula sheet, it will tell you that that needs to be a dotted line. Now I'm going to graph my other line. My other line is going to be graphed how? Up 3, put a point on your y-axis at 3, and then a slope of up 1 over 1. What type of line do I have here? A straight, solid line. Both symbols are less than. If you forget how to shade a less than, go to your paper. There's my less than symbols, and it says shade below. Shading below both of them would be this right portion over here. Okay, that first 12 questions of your exam have to do with lines. How do we feel about the review of lines? You got it? Okay? So what you would, well, I'll talk about that. Okay, so now we're going to move into quadratics. Two reasons that I know that this is a quadratic. One, I have an x squared. I also have an f of x instead of a y now. It says f of x. And when it says graphing, it says to use the curve tool. So it tells you not to use the line tool, to use the curve tool. Okay? So, if I forget how this gets graphed, I can look on the back of my formula sheet. So all line stuff are on the front. So questions 1 through 12 is on the front of your formula sheet. Questions 13 through 23 are going to be on the back of your formula sheet. Okay? And it says if I do not have parentheses, but I have a -2, it tells me that I'm going to either, if it's positive, go up. If it's minus, I'm going to go down. So from my origin, I'm going to go down 2 and put my point. Now, I only need one other point on Math Excel. What is that other point that you can put on there? 1. If I go left 1 or right 1, it doesn't matter, and then up 1. So it doesn't matter if you go left or right. It's still the same. Now, this is a two-part question because you also have to fill in the multiple choice. So the multiple choice said, how did you move it? How did you translate this graph? So you went down 2. So all you have to look for is either the graph's going to go up or the graph's going to go down. Okay? And so you just have to look for the appropriate words. Okay. 14. 14? Okay. Okay. Well, that's the reason why we're going to look at our formula sheet. Okay? Our formula sheet right here, that stuff all over my formula sheet, tells you the formula that we're going to use to substitute in. Okay, so I'm going to write it on our paper here. So I need parentheses x minus h squared plus k. That's the formula that I'm going to use. The first thing that you need to do, so the first thing that you're going to do is find your vertex. So what is this vertex right here? What is that ordered pair of that vertex? Anybody? 3, 5. Okay? Now, you're going to take the 3, which is in the x spot of your ordered pair, and put it with the x. Okay? So, in parentheses, I'm going to have x minus 3, close my parentheses and square it, and then my k value goes outside, so I just put plus 5. That's it. Find your vertex. Substitute those values in. This is always h, and this is always k. And it tells you that on your formula sheet. So find your vertex, hk. The a is always 1 on this problem, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay? Other questions on that problem? Hopefully then maybe that cleared some questions up on that. Okay, question number 15. Okay, again, I don't need to worry about this A. Okay, let's worry about the 5 and the 4. Which direction does this -5 tell you to go? Okay, if I look here on my formula sheet, that's an H, and it says positive, you're going left, negative, you're going right. So if it's negative, that says a -5, it tells you right here to go to the right. So this is going to the right 5, and it's going positive 4. So a positive 4 on the outside says up 4. Lots of people do not show work for this question. Okay, when you get your answer sheet that you have to show work on for the exam, write your directions there, just in case you pick the wrong box by accident. Okay? Now, I'm looking for a problem here that has a 5 and a 4 in it. Nothing on A has a 5 and a 4. It has a 1/5 and a 4, but it does not have a 5 and a 4. It has a 3. Okay? Number B has a 5 and a 5. So, letter B. C and D. So C has a 4 and a 5, and D has a 5 and a 4. Which one is correct? Which one goes right 5 and up 4? D. And so in this case, I didn't even need to know what the A did, which was 3. But the 3 does a compression of 3. That's where you see the 3 right there in your problem. Ready to move on to the last 2 questions? It's a short day. Okay, so 16 is the longest question on your exam. It's been the longest question on most of your tests. It has 5 parts, therefore it tends to be worth the most points. Okay? If you follow your graphing your parabola part of your formula sheet, you should be able to figure this out. Okay, so the first question says, what is the vertex? Okay, so vertex right here tells you it's HK. So this vertex is going to be 5, -30. Make sure you put them in the correct order. So it's the opposite of K. It tells you take the opposite of K, or excuse me, the opposite of H, and then K stays the same. Determine your axiosymmetry. It tells you X. So which number do I want, 5 or -30? Which one is an X value? 5. So you're going to put a 5 there. Now, does this graph, if we go back, does it open up or down? It opens down. So if a graph opens down, does it have a maximum or a minimum? It has a maximum. So we know that it's going to be A. And since I just used 5 for the question before, what do you think number do I use here? -30. No one should miss domain because the answer is on your formula sheet. Look what it says. Domain, always all real numbers. So all real numbers is always letter E. Yeah. Oh, sure. Okay, and then the last one is range. Your range is what value? Range is your Y value. Right? And if you look at your formula sheet, notice it says range over here. It tells you it's either going to be greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Correct? So that means it can't be A, it can't be C, and it can't be E. So you have a 50-50 shot of which one it is. If it opens down, if you have a maximum, is it less than or greater than? It's less than, so it's going to be B, and it's less than what number? -30. It's your Y value. Take your little extra notes there. Range is always your Y value. And it tells you range and domain on your formula sheet. Okay, the last one is a sketch in your axiosymmetry. So, what direction does the 4 tell you to go? Left 4. So I'm going to left 4. The 6 tells you to do which direction?
Up 6.
Up 6. Which way is this going to open? Opens down. Okay, so I'm going to go left 4, up 6. There's my point. Now I know it opens down, so when I go to the left one, how many do I go down this time? 3. So I'm going to go left 1, down 3, because that's my A value. Left 1, down 3. Now, the other thing that sometimes we forget, what other part of this problem do we have here? Axiosymmetry, which is what type of line? A dotted line that goes straight through that vertex. It will mark the whole thing wrong if you do not put your axiosymmetry in there.